afternoon, my YouTube friends and family. Do you see what's going on over my right shoulder here, right next to my ear? It's a little deer walking around here, and she's just one of 8 that are kind of walking around out here in the woods. It's really cool this time of year in Wisconsin. It's definitely the harvest. You got to be much more careful how you're driving and everything, because these little guys tend to come out of nowhere and end up on the hood of your car. Anyhow, I wanted to talk a little bit about a couple of things. First of all, I want to encourage my friend Christopher Maudy, who has come under a lot of heat lately, wrongly. And there are people demanding apologies from Christopher. And Christopher, I just want to tell you, you don't owe anybody any apologies. There's plenty of people who owe you apologies, however. So stay strong, keep your chin up, be yourself, dude. That's all I have to say about that. The other thing I want to talk about is the primacy of existence. I'm going to attach a video after this one because it occurs to me that there are no professional philosophers, those who debate and teach and do philosophy for a paycheck, who ever argue the primacy of existence or objectivism in any form. And that should concern you if you're holding to such a position, that if nobody else is arguing the primacy of existence, if it has any merit at all, you would think that there would be people actually arguing it other than people on YouTube. But you don't see that, do you? Turns out that it has a whole bunch of holes, and that's why. And you know, the first warning that you have a bad argument should be is if I can pick it apart, that should be your first warning that it's not sound, it's not solid. I mean, I'm just a guy. So my friend Mere Christian Logos, who I have attached his channel down below in the description box, go subscribe to him. He made a video, 2 videos actually, about objectivism, but the one that I'm attaching here, he fully and completely demonstrates all the holes that it has and the reason why no one should use the argument or take it seriously. But if you want to ride that anchor to the bottom of the ocean, please, don't let me stand in your way.
I come now to Descartes' 2 most important books, so far as pure philosophy is concerned. These are the Discourse on Method and the Meditations. They largely overlap, and it is not necessary to keep them apart. In these books, Descartes begins by explaining the method of Cartesian doubt, as it has become to be called. In order to have a firm basis for his philosophy, he resolves to make himself doubt everything that he can manage to doubt. As he foresees that the process may take some time, he resolves, in the meanwhile, to regulate his conduct by commonly received rules. This will leave his mind unhampered by the possible consequences of his doubts in relation to practice. He begins with skepticism in regard to the senses. Can I doubt, he says, that I am sitting here by the fire in a dressing gown? Yes, for sometimes I have dreamt that I was here, when in fact I was naked in bed. Pajamas and even nightshirts had not yet been invented. Moreover, madmen sometimes have hallucinations, so it is possible that I may be in like the case. Dreams, however, like painters, present us with copies of real things, at least as regards to their elements. You may dream of a winged horse, but only because you have seen horses and wings. Therefore, corporeal nature in general, involving such matters as extension, magnitude, and number, is less easy to question than beliefs about particular things. Arithmetic and geometry, which are not concerned with particular things, are therefore more certain than physics and astronomy. They are true even of dream objects, which do not differ from real ones as regards numbers and extension. Even in regard to arithmetic and geometry, however, doubt is possible. It may be that God causes me to make mistakes whenever I try to count the sides of a square or add 2 to 3. Perhaps it is wrong, even in imagination, to attribute such unkindness to God, but there might be an evil demon, no less cunning and deceitful than powerful, employing all his industry in misleading me. If there be such a demon, it may be that all the things I see are only illusions of which he makes us as traps for my credulity. There remains, however, something that I cannot doubt. No demon, however cunning, could receive me if I did not exist. I may have no body, this might be an illusion, but thought is different. While I wanted to think everything false, it must necessarily be that I who thought was something, and remarking that this truth I think, therefore I am, was so solid and so certain that all the most extravagant suppositions of the skeptics were incapable of upsetting it. I judged that I could receive it without scruple as the first principle of philosophy that I sought. This passage is the kernel of Descartes' theory of knowledge and contains what is most important in his philosophy. Most philosophers since Descartes have attached importance to the theory of knowledge, and their doing so is largely due to him. I think, therefore I am, makes mind more certain than matter, and my mind, for me, more certain than the minds of others. The preceding passage was from Bertrand Russell's work, The History of Western Philosophy. Giving you a little history lesson there, right? Russell is discussing Descartes' cogito, Cartesian doubt. I think, therefore I am, and discussing Descartes' theory of knowledge, and our theories of knowledge are called epistemology. And the reason I read that is just, so you can have a little history on Descartes' work. And we hear it a lot, I think, therefore I am, and that's where it comes from. And let's do a little picture pages thing here. Get your crayons and your pencils and your papers, and take your papers, and put it in front of you there, take your crayon, and on one side of the paper, draw a line down the middle. And then on one side of the paper, put I think, and then the other side, therefore I am. So we got, got it all nice and divided up there. Okay, now I'm going to read you a paraphrase of Alex Botten's argument, the primacy of existence argument, and then I'm just going to go through it and do a little commentary. This is Alex Botten's POE argument, and like I said, this is not word for word. It's a paraphrase, and let's jump in. You can know certain things for certain, and you know that you're thinking, and you know that with absolute perfect certainty, and you know it because of the impossibility of the contrary. If you were not thinking, you would not be able to even consider the thought of whether you were thinking or not. Okay, so what we're saying here is, for you to know something for certain, you have to be thinking. And I would like to put forth the argument that thinking is the product of consciousness. Now, so let's put there on that side there, I think, I put you can know certain things for certain. And you know that you're thinking, and you know that with absolute perfect certainty, and you know it because of the impossibility of the contrary. If you were not thinking, you would not be able to even consider the thought of whether you were thinking or not. Now, on the therefore I exist side put, this leads you to realize that you exist. Now, Alex Botten claims that this is not the cogito, but I think with our little kindergarten Venn diagram there, we see it sort of kind of is, right? All right, so we have I think, therefore I am. And so now we know that we exist. All right, so what about it? Well, now you have to work out, is your consciousness or existence itself the first thing that is important here? Which of them obtains over the other? Well, that's a good question. And there's two good questions. So, well, the answer is, if you're talking about ontology, then existence is primitive. If you're talking about theories of knowledge, well, then thinking or consciousness is primitive. So since we're doing epistemology, we're talking about the primacy of consciousness. So it seems, right? I think, therefore I am. Or you can know certain things for certain and know that you're thinking, and this leads you to exist. That's one way to say it. Now, the thing is, it doesn't matter, because that leads you to the objectivist view of the primacy of existence, which means that for anything to be able to do anything at all, it must first exist. Well, this is good, but, you know, really what you're now talking about is ontology. You're not talking about epistemology. You've equivocated here. This argument equivocates right here. And then now no one cannot deny the POE, because anything you say will merely confirm the POE. There again, appealing to ontology, metaphysics, to argue epistemology. You're confusing the two here. Now, once I have realized that the POE is axiomatically true and is an undeniable truth at that point, I can then start to say, well, the reality I am experiencing through my senses is real because it must exist for me to experience it. And then I can start to measure it and start to build knowledge, which allows us to gain knowledge about the world around us. We don't need to appeal to any gods at all. All we need to do is recognize the correct relationship between that which we observe and the observer. Well, see, now you've just gotten out of that taxi cab. See, you started over here at rationalism. You started over here with skepticism. And you take that taxi cab on over to the objectivist side of town, and then you get outside of the taxi cab and say, well, now that I'm here, I don't need rationalism or skepticism. I have empiricism. And it's just rude not to dance with the one who brought you. And from there, this problem of calling this axiomatically true. Axioms are bedrock truths. They are truths that have no preceding premises. And quite frankly, you have at least one premise, I think, and then you have another premise, the conscious awareness of the fact that you exist before you say you can have any knowledge, which is interesting because you're there again taking the a priori taxi cab and getting out of it. You get over to the a posteriori neighborhood and want to deny the a priori. They got you there. You know what? That's the kind of thing that rock stars do, right? They got their ugly girlfriend that helps them make it, and then when they get rich, they get a supermodel because they can.